Joining me now, Jonathan Tobin, editor-in-chief of the Jewish News Syndicate. Sir, thank you. I'll talk to you about Jake Sullivan's trip and some of the takeaways in a moment, but I'd like to begin with the alleged bounty for some of these Hamas leaders, starting with Yahya Sinwar. What more can you share on this?
Well, I think Israel is just making it clear to Hamas and its leaders that they are finished. They are, it's not, I'm not sure that anybody close enough to Sinwar will be able to collect that bounty, but it's a message to Hamas and its apologists around the world that there's no escape for them. They're all going to be captured or killed. There will be no escape. There will be no deal that lets them off the hook. And I think this, this is more about sending a message than actually sort of a wanted dead or alive kind of deal. It's about making it clear to the world that Hamas's leaders will not get away with mass murder. Their atrocities, their unspeakable atrocities that were committed on their orders on October 7th.
Yeah, some of those bounties for Sinwar, $400,000, $300,000 for his brother Mohammed. There's also a $100,000 bounty for Mohammed Deif, who is the military arm or leads the military arm. Jake Sullivan, as we have been reporting, has been in the Middle East for the last several days. What do you believe have been the most significant takeaways from these exchanges as they've been made public?
I think the point of these exchanges, the point of Sullivan's visit, as well as some of the recent statements by President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken, is that the United States is trying to package its support for the war on Hamas in a way that will be politically acceptable to the left wing of the Democratic Party. All this talk about high intensity, low intensity, trying to chide Israel to be more careful, as if Israel isn't already doing everything it can to avoid civilian casualties, while Hamas is doing everything it can to increase the number of Palestinian casualties. That's their whole purpose. The whole point of this is to try to make it seem as if the United States is undermining Israel, as if it's criticizing Israel, as if it's wanting them to stop the war as soon as possible, stop killing Palestinians. But, the bottom line to this, and this is the good news for Israel and its supporters, and it's why the Israelis are reacting so mildly and not making any fuss about a lot of these very unfair criticisms coming out of Washington and some of these sort of micromanaging of Israel's war effort, is that as long as the United States is not trying to pull the plug on Israel, on the arms resupply that it needs, because Israel is dependent on U.S. arms. It's been American policy for decades to make sure that Israel is dependent upon them for arms resupply. And as long as that will not interfere with the continuance of this war until Hamas is completely eliminated from Gaza, until the terrorist organization is basically wiped out, then Israel is fine with this. Israel wants to win the war. If there will be arguments with the United States and with Biden because he's trying to revive the failed policies of his predecessors, a two-state solution that the Palestinians have repeatedly rejected. Everybody in Israel knows this makes no sense, but the point is they'll deal with the after-the-war controversies after the war. As long as the United States is not trying to stop Israel from fighting the war in the kind of tangible way that it could do, then all of this, this is just so much of an information operation on the part of Biden, who is worried about his left wing, the left wing of the Democratic Party, which is highly critical of him. As much as most Americans support Israel, half the Democratic Party, at least, is not supportive of Israel. So that's Biden's problem. He's trying to, as we say, dance at two weddings at the same time. That's very difficult, but that's what all of these statements are about.
And if I'm a family member of one of the hostages that remain, how does that play into this? As Israel says, it will not cave to pressure. They do not want to see another ceasefire, and their family members are across that border, who knows where.
Yeah, listen, if one of your family is being held hostage by a terrorist, Hamas or anybody else, you'll trade the whole world to get your family, to get your loved ones. Who wouldn't? But Israel has, as a nation, just as the United States, when it's put in this position, has, the obligation to do everything it can to bring its hostages home. But it also has the obligation to make sure that there are no more October 7th, that the people who committed these outrages, that are the kidnappers, don't get away with it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.